Good afternoon. My name is Alina Shevtsova. I am an immigration attorney from Brooklyn, New York. In today's Legally Speaking seminar, I would like to talk to you about how to get a copy of your immigration file and why you need a copy of your immigration file. I receive many inquiries online. People ask me, my family member was deported a long time ago. Is there hope for him or her to come back? Could you answer this question for me? I have a long immigration history. Or somebody simply asked me, can you do something about my immigration status? And the first question I have for them is this: do you have a copy of your immigration file? If you've been in the United States ever, for a long time, for one time, if you had any problems with the border, at the border, or if you didn't, or if you're not sure, do you have a copy of your immigration file? If you have a criminal history in the United States, do you have a copy of your criminal history? Why it's important? Some people say, well, I have some file, I have a file from my previous lawyer, and I say, okay, but do you have a CD? And if they don't have a CD, or the CD was received several years ago, and there were filings or some interactions with immigration after that, you need to get a new file. So why it's important? Immigration in the United States, immigration authorities are divided in various bodies. Immigration court has its own system of record. Immigration USCIS, United States Citizenship Services, they have their own system of record, Citizenship and Immigration Services. People who are at the border, they have their own record system. So before you are trying to get an answer to a very important question as to if you can fix your immigration status in the United States, you need to collect information from all those places about you. What is it that the government has about you in their files? Sometimes we needed to prevent or fight fraud allegations. Sometimes we can find their grounds for relief, like 245I relief. If somebody tried to sponsor you, your family member, a long time ago, before April 30th, 2001, or even earlier, and you were physically present in the United States, let's say in 2000, then you may have a chance of fixing your immigration status now, even though you didn't have lawful immigration status or entered the country illegally a long time ago. Okay. At times you're missing decision on your case, and you say, I filed something and I never got the decision. I would like to see what's in my file. That's why. Also, sometimes we can find a notice of a future hearing date in a file. Let's say the case was administratively closed. It just happened to one of my clients, and he was not aware that he needs to be in court. His former lawyer never told him that he has a hearing coming up and the government rescheduled his case. He had no idea, and we found that in his file. Sometimes we can fight a case, fight for the person to be able to reopen the case because immigration court filing was defective. Okay, let's say it missed the address where the notice was supposed to have been sent, and the person, based on that ground, lack of notice ground, can reopen his or her immigration case. Many years later, it happened. At times, we need to know if the person will be subject to what's called permanent bar, because he or she has been shuttling or was deported at the border and re-entered the country. And then we will need to request files from one more place that collects the records at the border. So that's why we need a full immigration file. Because if I make a mistake in your case due to me not reviewing your file, it's a silly mistake. It could have been avoided. So how do you get the file? Well, to get the file, you need to file usually a form G as in George 639. Provide some biographical information, all the names that you ever used, and sign it. It doesn't have to be signed in front of a notary, and submit it to multiple places: EOIR, USCIS, CBP, ICE. There is a OBIM FOIA request. and wait for your files. It may take a long time to get your files. Usually it takes 6 months at least to get files from USCIS. Immigration court is faster, but sometimes also there are delays. You're going to get everything that you filed, ideally, right? You're going to get everything that was filed for you, with some information withheld, of course, because if the information did not belong to you, but belonged to a sponsor, that information usually will be blocked off. Some information is not going to be provided because United States government is not providing it due to security reasons and for investigative purposes. And you even can get audio recordings. Let's say you appeared with your spouse for the interview. Nowadays, they will release that recording if there was one, or notes that were taken by asylum officer at your asylum interview. That's very interesting, right? That you actually can get that information, but that takes a long time to receive. So all this information about you, you can get. It's very important that you do have it. It's relatively easy to get that information. Now, what do you do if you get back an empty file? Let's say you requested an information, you were waiting for it, and instead you got 200 pages of withheld material. In this particular case, your lawyer or you can write an appeal. If you believe that something that was supposed to have been released was not released to you, you can write an appeal and ask for the government to unseal certain records that you believe were kept in your file and not provided. It's very important. Sometimes it does work. Another thing that very often happens with FOIA is this. You received an initial response to your FOIA request, and months later you're going to receive an additional response. It happens often. And that additional response may contain some important information as well. So now to the point, how to get the file. You Google FOIA, FOIA, Freedom of Information Act, FOIA, and then you put USCIS. You put these two words in Google, and usually the first couple websites are going to be just that, just what you need, instructions as to how to submit the FOIA with USCIS. And USCIS will give you administrative record, not immigration court. And if you'd like to have immigration court file, you're going to do the same thing, FOIA and then EOIR, all right? And it's going to take you to the website that explains how you get that file as well, all right? And it's very important that you do have it, because any person, absolutely any person who would like to fix the immigration status here, they have to have the immigration file, a copy of what the government has, not what your old lawyer had, not what you may have a copy from a long time ago or from multiple attorneys. You want that CD, organized record that the government is going to have. Okay, so that's very important. And I hope that video was helpful. And if you'd like to get more information on various immigration points, you can visit our website, www.shaltsova.com.